the untold history of the Vikings. The Vikings came from Scandinavia, which includes modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. They lived between the 8th and 11th centuries, and they are best known for being fierce warriors and raiders. Vikings used their fast, sturdy ships to sail across Europe, attacking villages, towns, and monasteries to loot treasures. They raided places like England, Ireland, France, and even as far as the Mediterranean. Despite their violent reputation, not all Vikings were warriors. Many were also traders, farmers, and settlers. One of the key reasons Vikings were so successful in raiding and exploration was their advanced shipbuilding skills. Viking longships were fast, flexible, and could navigate both oceans and rivers. These ships had shallow drafts, meaning they could sail in shallow water and even land directly on beaches. This allowed the Vikings to quickly invade and escape, often catching their enemies by surprise. These ships were built using wooden planks, with large sails and oars for rowing, making them perfect for long sea voyages. Although the Vikings are famous for their raids, they were also skilled traders. Vikings established trade routes that stretched from Europe to Asia. They traded goods like fur, timber, amber, and slaves, in exchange for silver, spices, and silk. Viking traders traveled far, reaching places like the Byzantine Empire, the Middle East, and even as far as North America. Their exploration and trade made them rich and helped spread different cultures and technologies across Europe. Long before Christopher Columbus's famous 1492 voyage, the Vikings had already reached North America. Around 1000 AD, Viking explorer Leif Erikson sailed west from Greenland and landed in what is now Newfoundland, Canada. The Vikings called the place Vinland, likely because of the wild grapes they found there. While the Vikings did not establish permanent settlements in North America, their discovery shows that they were some of the greatest explorers of their time. In the early Viking Age, most Vikings followed Norse paganism, worshipping gods like Odin, Thor, Freya, and Loki. Their religious beliefs influenced many aspects of their lives, including their burial rituals and warrior culture. Vikings believed in an afterlife, with Valhalla being the hall where brave warriors would go after death. However, by the end of the Viking Age, Christianity began spreading in Scandinavia, and many Vikings converted to Christianity, blending some of their old traditions with the new religion. One of the biggest misconceptions about Vikings is that they wore horn helmets in battle. This image became popular in the 19th century through operas and art but is historically inaccurate. Real Viking helmets were made of metal or leather and did not have horns. Horns would have been impractical in battle, as they could easily get caught in things. Archaeological evidence shows that Viking helmets were simple but effective for protecting the head during combat. Apart from being raiders and traders, Vikings were also settlers. Many Vikings didn't just raid foreign lands but settled there too. For example, the Vikings established the Danelaw in England, a region controlled by Danish Vikings. They also settled in Ireland, Scotland, and parts of France, where they founded Normandy named after the Norsemen. In Eastern Europe, Vikings known as Varangians became rulers in what is now Russia and Ukraine, blending their culture with local Slavic traditions. Viking society was divided into three main classes: the nobles Jarls, free farmers and warriors Carls, and slaves Thralls. The Jarls were wealthy landowners and leaders, while the Carls were common people who farmed or fought in battles. The Thralls were slaves who had been captured in raids or born into slavery. Slavery was an important part of Viking society, and slaves were often traded or forced to work for their masters. However, slaves could sometimes earn their freedom by paying their masters or through good service. In Viking culture, honor and reputation were everything. Vikings believed that a good reputation lived on after death, so they aimed to be remembered as brave warriors or wise leaders. They valued personal strength, courage in battle, and loyalty to their family and tribe. The worst thing for a Viking was to be considered cowardly or dishonorable. This strong belief in honor led to blood feuds, where families would seek revenge for insults or injuries, sometimes sparking long-lasting conflicts. Vikings were more than just warriors. They were also highly skilled in crafts and construction. Viking craftsmen created intricate jewelry, weapons, and tools from materials like wood, bone, iron, and silver. They used weaving and dyeing techniques to make colorful clothes from wool and linen. Vikings were also excellent builders, constructing homes, fortresses, and ships that were both functional and beautiful. Their homes were typically longhouses made of wood, with thatched roofs, where entire families lived together with their animals. The Vikings believed in a strong connection between life and death, and their burial practices reflected this. Important Viking figures were often buried with items they would need in the afterlife, like weapons, tools, and even ships. In some cases, warriors were buried in full-sized ships to ensure a safe journey to the afterlife. Viking funerals were grand events, with some high-status individuals being cremated on a burning ship, sending them off in a blaze of glory. Viking women had more rights and freedom compared to women in other parts of medieval Europe. They could own land, request a divorce, and manage households. While they did not usually fight in battles, they played key roles in Viking society, taking charge when men were away raiding or trading. Some women, known as shield maidens, even fought alongside men in legends, although historical evidence of this is debated. Viking women also influenced trade and politics, showing how important they were to their communities. The Viking Age came to an end around the 11th century, as European kingdoms became stronger and the Vikings began to settle down. Christianity spread throughout Scandinavia, changing the Vikings' traditional pagan beliefs. The rise of stronger military forces in Europe also made raiding less profitable. Many Vikings became farmers, traders, or Christian rulers in the lands they had once raided. Though the Viking Age ended, their impact on Europe, from the exploration of new lands to the founding of cities, left a lasting legacy.